Hello.
Hello.
And thanks for coming. I want to get to playing in a few minutes, but so I guess it's like a 45-minute presentation, so I'll try to divide it into 3:15s. First to talk in general about what my idea was, and then to show you some very basic, like Web 1.0 ideas that I use for making teaching things that I can put on WebCT, and then finally the things that are kind of new that I'm enjoying, that are fun and fairly consistent with things that we were doing, that we were hearing about this morning in that exciting keynote thing. I guess I'm not using Smartboard. Am I using Smartboard? I'm using Smartboard. It's smarter than I am, that's for sure. So anyways, I think there's only 3 requirements that Tunxis has for us as teachers for using internet. They expect us to use ComNet email to communicate with our students rather than our personal private email. They expect us to submit our first syllabus or syllabi if you are fortunate to teach more than one class electronically, and to make it available to students on your website. So we have these beautiful, huge websites, and we only have to put the syllabus on them. That's all they require. But and I confess I haven't made the best use of these websites, but I have a couple tricks up my sleeve that I think add like a tiny bit of digital, like I say, Web 1.0 stuff. That's because I'm old. This is what I think of for old school. You know, you stand up in front of the students and you present information, and you have very good students who are successful because they can take notes and recall the content of what you said, but they're not manipulating anything. They're not doing anything, and that's old school. I guess that in a way, the new old school might be some of the basic digital things, and I'm going to move more into some of my thoughts about the digital stuff, and then I'm going to do what I call old school things that I do, but it's really new old school. This is so old that it doesn't even qualify to be old school. It's prehistoric school now. But this is what students think. They think they can learn while they're distracted. And we all have these kids with cell phones in the room, and if you could make them use the cell phone to amplify what you're doing in class, great. But they're doing several different things, and it's really difficult sometimes to compete for their attention. But that's what I think we have to do. I think we have to compete for their attention. Everyone here uses some kind of a portable handheld digital device, and whenever you get tired of something, all you have to do is slide to something else, or turn it off, or go somewhere else. And I remember, so I don't know about some of you guys, but I remember when when I was in graduate school and I had to look something up in these big books of journals, and then I had to find an article, and I had to get the microfiche and bring it to a microfiche reader. But nowadays, people are bored to death if they do a search, they find an article, and it takes more than 3 seconds to download. They're staring at that little hourglass or little spinning color wheel or whatever it is in there, and bored, this is boring, things. And nowadays, people I don't know.
It's 7 seconds. 7 seconds of
Focus.
Yeah, attention.
Seconds.
Second attention span.
But you see what happens there is that little pause, just a little pause looking for the word, and some of us were distressed enough over that pause that we threw in a possible solution to what you were thinking of, because we don't like that. Conversation in the United States is a competitive sport in which the first person to draw a breath is declared the listener. But everyone likes it. But kids are using these things. The statistics are amazing on kids that use it. Post-millennial children, 35 hours of television a week. And a third of babies under 2 and 3/4 under 8 have used a portable device. Now, I thought that was weird until I saw my 2-year-old grandson working with an iPod. And I said, oh, that's kind of weird. Well, actually, that's kind of weird. attention span has changed from 12 minutes down to 5 minutes. And I guess I get a little concerned when my daughter, who's in college, shows me her papers, and all of the resources that she's used are things that were accessed online. Now, no one has told her that she has to find a refereed journal to get the articles from. Whatever's online is whatever's online, and whatever is available. Now, this was sort of a website site about that particular topic that may or may not come up for us. But
that's super slow for some reason today.
anyways, but it was the source for the thing for the comment or the study about attention span going from 12 minutes to 5 minutes, and it said on the website 5 seconds. It was a mistake on the website. So if all we do is look things up on websites, obviously there's a few problems. So anyways, this is my thesis, and I got to do that in less than 15 minutes, which is good. Is this okay?
Yeah, sure.
is that if you have children, or you kind of notice that they spend a tremendous amount of time staring at these little screens. Sometimes they interact with other peers all around the world, and it's a wonderful thing that they can do that. But it's not the same as interacting directly face-to-face with people like you have to do at work. And it's important for social development to be able to relate to people and talk to people. And I think that even though we need to meet them where they are and show them, find ways to teach them in small little excerpts that match their attention span, we also need to do something to increase their attention span. We need to do cognitive restructuring in order to show them how to take the time to look things over before they hit send. I mean, they get so impatient to just hit send and just be done with it, and to understand that you really can't multitask. And those are some of the ideas that I have for the second part of my presentation. But the first one is just practical. So there's all different levels of expertise in using the Blackboard, right? And so it could be really old news for some of you, as opposed to new news for some of you. But I only wanted to show you something like simple that I do in my class as sort of it's sort of a weekly rhythm for me. I'm an adjunct teacher of Spanish, and I have 2 classes going right now, and so I work full time. So I really have to do a lot to structure my time and to make the best use of out of every moment. But what I do is I have a page for each class, and the class notes. So this would be like the very first day of class. This would be the first day of class practically. The class notes go online. Not a lot on that particular day.
This is your traditional on-campus class.
Traditional on-campus class. Okay, who's into it? So notes from February 25 with helps for quiz 2. And how I do this, and there are, yeah, I know. It's a lot easier in a way in Spanish to teach people how to say something disgusts me than to say how you like it. So we sort of do a little backwards approach to that. But what I do is in the content collection for this course, and this is just this particular semester, in the content collection for each lesson, I have my notes, and I have the notes as a doc file and as a PDF file, and so that I put the doc file here, even though I'm not linking that to the things that the students see, because I know that it's always there. It's on my drive, it's on my computer, but it's always here, and it's easy or possible for me to edit it without Adobe. So next semester, I will have this file to write my lesson plan, because the lesson plan is something that, you kind of choreograph what's going to happen in class, you have your information, you have things preloaded, and then I'll edit it, because we never like to do the same thing. We, semester after semester, we always learn new techniques and we get better and better at what we do. And we figure out what worked and what didn't work. So I'll edit my lesson plan, put it on the screen, and while we're in class, that will begin to change like really drastically, because when students begin offering things in Spanish or speaking, or we need to explain something, I sit here and I can type it on the board. It doesn't even take a smart board. The projector goes onto any surface. And then on Saturday morning, I change it, I edit it the way that makes it as clear as possible for students. I save it as a PDF. I put it online, and they know that after Saturday morning, they can go to the website and they can see the notes from last week. Does that keep them from taking notes? Well, I don't know. I'd like to be more active in class so that they don't sit there taking notes necessarily. That would probably be a boring class if they sat there taking notes. But there I have both next week's stuff and my own stuff, and other things that I've put on there. I've opened some of these websites.
Oops, I think you just closed it.
Oh, I just closed the whole thing, didn't I? Everything I did to prepare. History. And now we're slow again. Slow again. This is what I did last time. This stuff plug-in. So I'm going to go to some of these websites for you and show you real simple things that you can do to make fast, easily attended to digital things to put on your student website. Let me say Prezi. Have you used Prezi?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, then I've just like this is Spanish 101, Class 1. And it's there for the students, and I actually use it as a first lecture. So Prezi is very easy to use, and so we practice pronunciation, and we have some pictures, and some of them we don't even use, and then we explain how to pronounce words and how to say hello, how are you, and we have words to pronounce. But anyways, it's there. It seems to be more interesting than PowerPoint, and I think students like it because it's more interesting than PowerPoint. In the classroom, I make a lot of use of Quizlet.com. For things like, I don't know, here's a very simple vocabulary thing. You can make Quizlet.com, you can make flashcards. It now even pronounces Spanish for me. So I can do one side or the other side. I can do photos and in class. Sort of practice, and they can say things in class. And then then there are other games that they can play at home where they line things up, el corazón, and make them disappear. Then there are other, you can decide a lot better ways to do that, but for example, there's a flashcard that sometimes I make flashcards with where they have to make sentences.
Descansar, el oso descansa.
So they make sentences using the stuff that we've learned. Jeopardy Labs is one that we sometimes do in the classroom. It's really boring if you don't move it along and make it small and move it along fast. But if you move it along and you make it go pretty fast, you can divide the classroom into teams, and then it's a traditional game. They choose something, and esto les hace la vida difícil a las personas con asma en la Ciudad de México, Distrito Federal. So this is something, it's from a vocabulary list. It's something that makes life difficult to people who live in Mexico City. And of course, after they guess it from the vocabulary list, so anyways, it's Spanish to Spanish as opposed to, okay, so those are Skype. He talked about Skype this morning, but we've done things in Skype in my class where he talked about calling experts, but I could apply to everyone, but you can borrow a microphone from the tech people, from Mike, Sitch, and you can, and Skype is already on the system, so you can sign into Skype with your own account. It's cheap enough, and you can, in language classes, we like to call places. The funnest thing that we ever did was we were learning the vocabulary of animals, and it was a lucky break. We went to the Mexican Yellow Pages. We found a zoo. We called. There was a kid that was working late that night, and the students asked him, "Do you have bears? Do you have lions?" And they had a chat with him, and it was the coolest thing. But sometimes I have certain friends that always know that if I call them on Skype and I say I'm in class, that's a signal, and I pass the microphone around, and people ask for phone numbers and ask for little bits of data and information, and they get a person who speaks a lot faster to them than they're comfortable with, and then they learn that that's really how the world is. But you could really bring anyone into your classroom from absolutely anywhere. And then there's a kind of a fun thing that you can do. You can make homemade video. This is a where is it? Here it is. This is a PowerPoint presentation. Because of the flipped classroom, if you make short, easy to access things, I think for the students to teach a particular lesson, it's all in target language. There's a little bit of an explanation that doesn't mean a lot to them unless they were in class, but then they can make their own sentences, and they can see if they were correct. So they're short little things. You put them on the website, and when you put it on the flip, the flipped classroom idea is that you learn outside of class, if possible, as much as possible, through the website, and then your classroom time you can spend practicing and doing and coaching. So it's that putting that do thing first. So yeah.
Try to get them to read outside
Yeah, that's
before they
what I
get
was
there, so we can do.
Yes, I was just thinking.
That's a challenge.
Yeah,
That's
that
a
is a
challenge.
It is.
But if you make things fun, like there it is. I put these here instead of trying to download.
Hoy en día,
I knew it
la
wouldn't
vida
work.
es muy rápida. El problema es que no tenemos tiempo para las actividades familiares. Marita, ¿quieres jugar dominos?
Estoy leyendo el periódico.
So we're demonstrating
Roberto,
an activity,
¿quieres comer algo?
Estoy tomando café.
and then it's kind of repetitive, but you can see it,
¿Quieres salir con nosotros?
Estoy escuchando música.
and you see the actual demonstration. Okay, so those are things that's what I do online digitally that I think, I know it's kind of like low tech in a way, but but they're easy things to do at home, and they don't take a lot of time, and you can use them sometimes semester after semester. But now I've changed. I've changed like a lot. And here's how, and if you do anything, you have to learn how to convert video formats. Because the computers at Tunxis, they have just so many programs to play videos. You can play a Windows media file, but you can't play a flash file easily on most of the computers at Tunxis. So unfortunately, you have to get either make friends with Vadim or Mike, and they'll help you to change formats of things, or you can download video converters at home, and you have to put things into a form, unfortunately, that our computers at Tunxis will recognize. But here's how I'm thinking now that's different than the way I thought when I got my start with doing the short digital things, is that we have to start with some of those short things, short presentations, visual, graphic things they can download, they can look at over and over, they can use for learning outside the class. We have to start because that's where they are and they sort of enjoy those things. But we also have to be a little bit more entertaining than that. So I did this thing that sort of transformed my teaching in a way that we're talking about in today's conference. I started taking classes in, do you know what this is? You recognize that? I started classes in improvisational theater. That's like a big thing. A few weeks ago in Hartford, there was the CT Improv did a whole weekend of improvisational theater and they had groups from all over the country. People got to start with whose life is it, or what? Whose line is it anyway? And that's just come back on television with a new iteration of it. It is so much fun. People love it. But I said, wow, this really works I think it works in a lot of classes, and I'm going to expand on that, but it really works especially in a language class because we want people to speak spontaneously. We can teach them little formulas like how to say, I like apples, I like cheese, I don't like liver. You can teach them like how I like and I don't like are like formulas to make a formulaic speech, but I got frustrated because in my textbook, they would say situaciones, so the students are going to do a role play. But the role play over-defined what you were supposed to do. Like, you are a vegetarian who is eating at a restaurant on a blind date. Your date wants to order for you, and he wants to order a hamburger. Explain to him that you don't eat, and I'm like, so then we need some time, we need to prepare. I said, no, let's just do it. Oh, no, because they don't know half the words, and they are going to the dictionary, and they're fighting coming up to do what is supposed to be situations. I said, well, what if I just gave them, like you do in improv, a one-word suggestion? Now, the learning goals are the learning goals, but I say, okay, sit down at a table, restaurant. Anything at all that you can say in Spanish is acceptable and accepted. So you can say, hamburguesa, por favor. Or you can ask the other person, you can start with some small talk, but you don't translate. You draw from what you've learned, you draw from what you know, you draw from what you've got so far, and then you build on that, but it's spontaneous, and you're not drawing from language 1 to translate to language 2. So that's been, I think that's started to make a big difference in my teaching because it's a learn by doing, and it's practical and it's relevant. So it's like the flipped classroom where you try to help them learn as much as they can, but the classroom time isn't in teaching them the material as much as it is coaching them as they try to do what they're supposed to be doing. And so Tunxis, we're very fortunate to have space up in the front of the classroom. Almost all the classrooms have ample space. The 600 building is even better. And actually I have a textbook that I wrote, and I started putting these activities in the textbook, and then each time we write a new edition, the publisher sends questionnaires out to people that did use it and people that didn't use it to get ideas for the next edition. And most teachers, like one of the common complaints is they say, these activities, we can't do them at our school because we don't have any room, we're teaching in a very cramped place, and we can't do them. So we're fortunate here. But I want to just now stop because we're halfway through, and I want to play some games because you're teachers and you're willing to do it in a little sort of fast. These are things that I learned in improv class that you might be able to think of ways to use for any class. Now, this doesn't really teach it teaches almost nothing of content, but I need like 5 or 6 people to make a circle right here. Yeah, this just come on. 5 or 6 people.
Nice, what for now, volunteer.
If you think about early in your class, you want people to support each other. Don't be afraid, brother. You want people to be able to get to know each other, support each other, right? You want them to become a group. And everyone left their phones on the desk, which is kind of cool too. But this is about listening, because listening is a skill that we don't have. So I say chairman. I'm going to get in the middle. If I say chairman, you say Mao. If I say Mao, you say chairman. If I say cat, you say meow. If I say meow, you say cat. If I say cow, you say moo. If I say moo, you say cow. And if you make a mistake, you take the place in the middle. Okay? Yeah. Chairman.
Oh boy.
Mao.
Chairman.
Mao.
Chairman.
Cat.
Meow.
Cow.
Moo.
Moo.
Cow.
Chairman.
Meow.
Cat. Okay. Cow.
Moo.
Moo.
Cow.
Cat.
Meow.
Chairman.
Meow.
Mao. Moo.
Cow.
Meow.
Cat.
Meow.
Cat.
Cat.
Meow.
Chairman.
Wow.
Mao. Actually, you said meow. So you're
We're
gonna
gonna go
Yeah.
Chairman. Meow.
cat,
Meow.
moo,
Cow.
cat,
Meow.
chairman,
Meow.
mouse.
Let's hear it for the people. Wow. Yeah. All right. My daughter was very upset in her freshman year of college this year because in sociology she had to play Monopoly. She thought that was like a terrible thing. I don't know what made it so terrible, but as we talked about it, what made it so terrible was they were teaching about social class, and everyone everyone was assigned a social class to belong to. And different classes started with a different quantity of money at the beginning. And people from the lower classes could only buy the purples. They could only buy in certain areas. And as the game progressed, it turned out that the people in the poorer class found that the best thing for them to do would be to stay in jail, because anytime they were out going around the board, it was costing them money that they didn't have, and staying in jail was like, and that was like really sick, but they learned a lesson. And then this game was switched so that they could belong to a different class. And if you had been in the lower class and now you were in the upper class, there were a couple of different feelings that you might have. You might, because in the upper classes you could change the rules. You might try to change the rules to make it better, or you might enjoy the new status, or you might be kinder to the people in the other class. But it was the changes of class. She learned a lot, but it was extremely upsetting at first. I mean, she was very upset. And then I realized that if you make a person really upset, right, that's when they start to think. And she was engaged in this process. So that's like, now here's a game that we play. There's two kinds of improv. One is long form and the other is short form. But this is in short form you have the game, and this is a popular game that they use in improv classes. Someone steps out and the audience assigns a role to the people who are going to be dating. But I thought to myself, I taught psychology for 90 credits. I taught Psych 101 up at Asnanta and an adjunct. And I thought, now, we're all familiar with Maslow's needs, right? Suppose you played the dating game, and how fun is the dating game? But you have your one person is in a chair here. You have your 3 chairs there. This person steps out of the room, and each of the people who are going to answer questions is assigned to have a fixation on one of these. Think of one for you. Think of one of these areas for yourself that you might want to, that is where you are in your personal life. I mean, not now, but just imagine one for yourself. Assign one to yourself. And let me ask you a question. So, bachelor number... Oh. Okay.
Bachelorette.
Okay, bachelor number 17. We're going to have 17. If we were to go out on a date, where would you take me?
To my family.
Okay. So if you work along long enough, you get kind of an idea of where. And so if they have to memorize these ahead of time or whatever they have to do, it's a fun activity. But they're demonstrating in real life what a person might think about or do or look at different stages of this. And I suppose you could, we did a little sociology, a little psychology, but you could do it with Erickson's 8 stages, you know, basic trust versus mistrust. I taught him to his shame, and you know, I wouldn't have known that from going to college, only from teaching that one class 30 times. Okay, so it is always impressive when I'm at work and I go through the whole list to a friend and what? How do you remember all of that? For vocabulary, there's a game called Categories that we play. But the idea is that people are moving in and you're coaching them. So we made this we make this little circle. I don't know if you want to even try it, because it only makes sense in a second language. It doesn't make a lot of sense in English, but let's just try something. Can we have another circle? Any circle.
Anybody, you go last one.
Yes.
Now, my thinking in my language class is that for too long people have had the English word on this side of the page and the Spanish word on this side of the page, and they try to memorize things like cabeza, head, lengua, tongue, and so it doesn't work because they're storing all of their Spanish, all of their language 2, with cues that come from language 1, and you're almost training them to think language 1 in order to use language 2, instead of making a whole new neural pathways for language 2. So we look for ways to, as an adaptation of one of the games that we played, but you know, just learning this stuff outside and thinking about it and bringing it to class as activities. So so it's, in my case, all in Spanish, but here it's all in English, and so it doesn't, like I say, sound all that fun. But we've learned the names for parts of the body in English, and we get a rhythm going. And people are under pressure now because they have to keep it up. But it's like this. Let's get the rhythm go. Chihuahua. Why Chihuahua? Because we do badada in rehab. Chihuahua. So you say a word that you associate with a part of the body, and then you say the part of the body that you associate that with, and we all say word, Chihuahua. So you say sock. You say foot, everyone, sock, foot, Chihuahua. And we go around the room. So don't necessarily follow these.
Keep adding a word, or?
We keep adding a word. I mean, okay, sock, foot, everyone, sock, foot, Chihuahua. Then you do
Hand.
okay, something is not a part of the body, it's a word that you associate with a part of the body.
Oh, okay.
So it could be glasses, music, walking, could be, I don't know, could be chest pain. Okay, hopping. Part of the body?
Part of the body.
Hopping, foot. Everyone, hopping, foot, Chihuahua. Activity or
Jumping.
jumping, okay. Legs, jumping, legs, Chihuahua. Music,
Ear.
music, ear, Chihuahua.
Listening.
This happens, and sometimes someone will kind of pass one that way. Okay, that's kind of a fun way. Now then, we may do a whole category. And this seems like it is effective. It is effective. At first, it doesn't seem effective because everyone's using one word. But we've studied a whole vocabulary list. We've studied about vegetables. So everyone holds a hand up. And I'm going to say the name of a vegetable to you. Of course, mind you, if it's in a language that you don't know, it's okay. So it actually could be a stage of development. It could be people in history. It could be any theory you want. But I say it to you and you put your hand down. So I'll say carrot. Now you say one to someone else.
Zucchini. Okra. Asparagus. Brussels sprout.
Yeah. Okay, you gave her
Brussels sprout.
Brussels sprouts. Oh, okay. You got Brussels sprouts.
Asparagus.
Okay, asparagus. Okay, so then you repeat that. Carrot.
Oh.
Eye contact first. Eye contact first, and then carrot.
Zucchini. Okra. Brussels sprout. Asparagus.
Carrot.
Zucchini. Okra. Brussels sprout. Asparagus.
It seems, I know it seems kind of silly, but then we get a second one going. We can do fruit as a second one. And we keep the two of them going around. We're repetitively hearing these words. We're repeating them, and we have a tremendous amount of peer pressure, right? And so we're practicing. Okay, so here's an energy. Here's a nice energy one. The numbers from 11 to 15 are very difficult in Spanish because all the other numbers are like, you only have to know 10 and you're done. So 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 is difficult. Everybody. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So, right hand up, we go. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Ready? 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Left hand. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Take one away. 11, 12, 13, 14. 11, 12, 13, 14. 11, 12, 13. Anyways, it's a big energy game. We can count to 10. Everybody, want to practice counting to 10? Look at the floor. If two people speak at the same time, you have to go back to 1. Okay. 1,
2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
7,
8.
back to the beginning. 1,
2, 3, 4.
okay, thanks. But anyways, it's things that you do in a group where you're practicing and you're competing and you're participating and you're helping each other. Well, thank you. Let's hear it for our So these are other like group games that I'm calling this old school. Because, I don't know, old school because what? This is what I love about my Thursday, I go to an open rehearsal at the improv studio, and I'm with a group of adults, and we play games like this. It's all English, and I'm taking ideas for my teaching, but here are adults with no screens, no television, no background music, no nothing, playing games and learning social skills. I mean, if you're shy, it's hard to be a teacher, right? Anyways, but learning social skills and thinking on our feet and learning to listen to each other before we speak, which, and learning what the other person is thinking and how to build on that. And it's like the nicest 2 hours of my week, to be honest with you. One thing that they like to do is the 3-line scene. Now, 3-line scenes are kind of weird, but you have two people that face each other, and there's only three lines. So one person initiates, another person responds, a third person says a line. Well, it helps me in my Spanish class, and it can help in anything that you do because you don't have to know a lot in order to pull it off. Whatever you want to demonstrate, whatever you want to do. So the audience gives a suggestion, but of course I always in class usually give a suggestion like we have this list of verbs that we're supposed to learn and conjugate, which is really boring, but if I assign them one verb like comer, to eat, two people face off, and they know I only have to think of one thing, so one person says, como muchos vegetales, and the other person says, no me gustan los vegetales. But anyways, just 3 lines only, and everyone does something, but they do it from themselves. It's their idea. It's their own personal thing. So, and then there's like a talk. You can do a talk show, whatever you're trying to teach the students, whatever they've read about, whatever they've learned. You find people that represent those points of view, and make a panel out of them, and you have a studio audience. I know in my case, like for the advanced Spanish, where we're learning how to give advice, which is a different mode of the verbs, we're learning how to give advice. So we'll have a couple of couples that are having difficulties. We might even assign them the kind of difficulties. Like my husband has terrible hygiene, and something like that. So then people in the audience ask them questions, people in the audience give them advice, and it turns into like a live conversation where we've sort of let go of the book and we're all practicing, and I can coach them and they can coach each other, but I'm not teaching them in the old school way. So I'm thinking that this is old school, but that it's active. The way, that's just kind of just to show you how odd it can get. We put we're learning the names for family members, and so we put a line of chairs up and we ask for a dead person. And people like to volunteer to be the dead person as soon as I tell them it's not a speaking part. So they lie down the person lies down on the chair, and the person has a son who's never met any family members, and they sit next to the body. So we've learned the family members, and someone comes and says, "He was my favorite uncle." He says, "He was your uncle? I'm his son." "You're my cousin." "Yes, I'm your cousin." You know, that's like that. And then when we learn about a certain mode of the past tense, when we talk about old habits, we sometimes do awake and have people stand behind crying and say, "He used to do this," or "He used to do that." But it's anything they want to think of that they know they're using. It's the spontaneity. QVC is like describing an object, and then everyone has to think of what that is. So you have some kind of vocabulary word or something, and you have to sell it to the studio audience. So you say something. So in Spanish, we could say something like "Es grande, es blanca," you know, until we figure out it's the White House or something like that. Circumlocution, say what, is this like cool little game where we use a Spanish thing like "Que le diste?" where somebody will start it's a more advanced thing. You say a monologue, and someone stops them and says, "What'd you say?" And they have to change that to something else. So, you know, so I say, "I really like carrots." "What'd you say?" I like broccoli. You know, and tell a story. "I cook it." "What did you say?" "I buy it at Stop and Shop." So, anyways, hopefully you can think of ways to apply some of those things in different levels. But the old school for me, just the way I think of it, is that the old school is, the digital are small things that a person can repeat, that get their attention, that are visual, that are alive, that they can do on their own separately. I mean, that's where I am at with my digital, creating these little things using PowerPoint or home video camera or Prezi or Quizlet.com. There's a lot you can do with that. And then putting them on my website to encourage students to try to learn outside. And the new school for me, or the old school for me, is getting them interacting more like they had stopped doing.
Just one question. What do you do with the super shy or the super non-involved student? I mean, do you really make them do it, or is there, because there's something you get that person in class who just antisocial, for lack of a better word. I mean, that's it, you want to pass this class, you're going to get over that and you're going to deal with this, or do you bend the rules and hope they come along as the semester goes on?
I try not, I go as far as I can to encourage them without making their condition worse.
Right, well that's where you get that fine line.
It's that you have to find that fine line where you're not making their condition worse. And then I might talk to them and I say, "Listen, I'm not going to force you to do something, but when the thing gets fun, and you do it so that they can almost contribute anything, and it's okay. Yeah. You're almost going to start to heal that fear of failure. Yeah, so that when we're doing the thing in circle, "That's not a vegetable!" No, this is okay. Everyone knows that's not a vegetable, but no one really cares because they said something, and it goes. I had a young lady years ago that here at Tunxis that always had a hood on, and she had long dresses, and she never spoke in class, and she would not speak. And after a couple of semesters were over, she sent me an email, and she said something like, "What's the reason to continue to live?" or something. And I didn't know it was her because it was like from her home email, and it was like the scariest thing that ever could happen. And I felt I had to respond to somewhat, and we responded, Today she's today she graduated from Tunxis, graduated from Central, went to Europe and got her master's in international finance, and she married in Italy. She never could like feel comfortable here for a lot of reasons, but she got a new life in a new language, and she's like the most successful woman who I think is about. The first time I ever saw her on her Facebook with a short skirt, I said, "Wow, look how far that young woman has come," you know.
Wow.
But people do, hopefully.
Sometimes they just need an opportunity.
No, true.
People do grow, but we just like. I think we're happy with the tiniest step as long as we don't make it worse. Yeah.
Do no harm.
Anything else?
Okay.
Yes.